Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads and headsets. Let's get that headset thing out of the way. Apple Vision Pro, let's get that out of the way first, because you've heard all about it. I think it's been pretty difficult to avoid hearing all about it. But what you and I can do now is look at this whole new category of Apple devices as writers. So actually, part of this is how Apple wrote this announcement, isn't it? How it tried to communicate a lot of detail, overcome quite a bit of disinterest, and at least try to sell us on this new device. I said try. Yeah, okay. That $3,500 price kills it for now. A lot. But as writers, okay, I think we can still appreciate that I think Apple has actually pulled off something that no other company has before, and a lot have tried. Apple, I think, has managed to make it so that you're at least interested to try a headset. Okay, Apple hasn't made everyone want to open their wallets or their purses or just hand over direct access to their bank accounts. It also hasn't given us that one absolutely must-have device, the way it did with the iPhone, the way you knew instantly that you wanted an iPhone. But before this week's announcement from Apple, I was shrugging at headsets, and there were plenty of them to shrug at. But now, I want to know, what would it be like writing on one? Because apparently, yes, you can write. I was going to say you can write using this Vision Pro headset. Well, you kind of can. At least, though, with Apple Gear, you will be able to sit there with this stuff on your face and type. Apple also said that you can use this Vision Pro headset with a MacBook Pro. You would open the MacBook, give the screen the eye, and then move that screen anywhere you want in your vision. Resize it, size of an elephant, if that means nothing to you. So you might have a little 14-inch MacBook Pro, as I do, and sometimes find the screen a bit small, compared to the wide thing here. With this Apple Vision Pro headset on your noggin, the MacBook Pro screen, it's as big as you want. Wrap yourself around in it. For writing then, okay, Apple's headset it has the capability to be useful for writers. And I think it has the possibility that you would wear it. And I have never thought that of any headset I've ever seen or tried. Okay, full disclosure, I've tried one. I remember shrugging. But it's remarkable. Apple has made this so that you can see yourself wearing one for a while, at least. And you can see the usefulness a bit. At some point, I think many years from now, I think you and I are going to get one. But a long way down the line. And actually, quite possibly, the first thing we'll do is immerse ourselves in TV and films. I would do that now. I would do that this minute if I had one. Anyway, I offer that Apple did startlingly well in communicating and writing its reveal of the headset. I think it's gone from something you couldn't ever see yourself bothering about to something you could see yourself bothering with someday. And that's huge. But for you and me as writers, right now, there was more in this week's big Apple WWDC announcements to see and to look forward to using now or very soon, including a lot that's free instead of $3,500. The most obvious new feature for writers that Apple mentioned is Journal. It's a new Apple app coming. Well, it's coming to iPhones and iPads. This must be wrong. But it doesn't appear to be coming to the Mac. That's got to be wrong. But this is the new Mac OS. It doesn't have Journal yet. I know certain parts of Journal are coming later in the year, so I'm not surprised that they're not in the beta straight away. But Apple doesn't mention Journal for the Mac either. I hope that's something that changes. Anyway, say what it is, William. If you've seen Day One, the app, you know the whole idea. Every day, if you want, you write in this app about I think you've heard of diaries. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, okay. But then what the app does that makes it more useful, apart from, a digital diary is interesting anyway. The phone or the iPad's with you all the time, wherever you are. Jot down a line, write an essay, whatever you like. But this app, just like Day One, can pull in certain details from your phone automatically if you want. So today I might write down that I bought ice cream, which I did 20 minutes ago. But the app will also include that I have a dentist appointment at 10, and the weather was hot. I mean, I don't know what else, but this kind of thing, should you choose to, can be brought in. So you look back in 10 years' time and think, ice cream and dentist, that was a day. I don't know, right, that Apple has now effectively killed this Day One app, but it has at least maimed it. There are reasons to still pay a subscription to the Day One app instead of using Apple's free journal when it comes out. And people who do use Day One tend to utterly adore it. I should put a link in the description below, and I will. But let me say this first. I don't adore Day One. I might be the only person who does. No, I know of another one. Some years ago, now sorry, this is an aside, but I'll try to make it relevant. Many years ago now, there was a change made in like the back end of Day One, in whatever it is that the Day One company does at its end on its servers. I can't remember if I ever found out what it was, but I cannot forget that change destroyed my wife's journal in Day One. Destroyed. I spent 6 or 7 hours that day doing things I can't even figure out what they could possibly be now, but forensically pulling back her data. I thought I was brilliant at this, and I think it was at my cleverest, but I got about 80% of her text back and 0% of her photographs and other images that she'd dragged in. I mean, it was, I promise you now, even though this was a long time ago and I can't recall the details, it was entirely Day One's fault. And I was pissed at how the company reacted. It practically said, whoops, certainly didn't help at all, didn't do anything like look and see if there were any server backups from before this calamitous update. My wife stopped using an iPhone journal from that day. She uses a paper one, and actually from time to time I do fret about that. What happens if the book gets lost, things like this today? Of course she won't use Day One again, and of course neither will I. But that loss, that totally not remotely her fault loss, means she won't use any iPhone journaling app. Maybe I will. It won't be Day One. I won't. You have to subscribe now. I will not give money to that company. But it's there. Apple is unlikely. I mean, not impossible, but it's unlikely to crash as badly as that, to destroy data as badly as that. But it can still happen. I just think, maybe a journal that we can write in that also pulls in related information. I think it's a good thing. Let's see. Over on the iPad, the next, I think, most immediately obvious update that we'll see when we're using it is when we deal with PDFs. I mean, like you get a PDF that you found in research, or maybe you save your own manuscript in PDF. Well, Apple has now improved how we can work with PDFs in the Notes app. PDFs there, you click on them, they go full screen to give you more room to scribble along, and you can also do things like collaborate with other people. Then actually, I love this, the new iPadOS also brings live activities to the iPad. That has to be explained. Live activities with a capital L and A. So, live activities have been on the iPhone. When I was last at an airport, for example, live activities on the iPhone meant that I could just look at my phone screen and see the latest update on my flight right there. No opening an app, no searching, just wait the screen, there it was. And actually, if you have a newer iPhone than I do, if you have an iPhone 14 Pro, then the screen stays on all the time, so you just glance. Apparently this is really good for sports results too, which just keep on updating, and there is nothing we can do to stop them. Anyway, both the iPhone and the Apple Watch next, they're kind of getting a new look. I think that's the way to summarise it. The benefit of it is it's showing more information more quickly, or maybe sharing information more quickly. With the iPhone, that means widgets have changed so that you can see more information right there on the screen. And with the Apple Watch, there's going to be this thing where you're looking at the time, but you can swipe up to check something like a timer, and then swipe back, go back to the regular clock face, watch face. And alongside improvements to AirDrop, the ability to send anything from your iPhone to your Mac or to other people's iPhones, there's now a way to swiftly send just contact details. To digitally swap business cards, I suppose, through a very similar system to AirDrop, and it's called Name Drop. Apple with a sense of humour. And plus, I love this too. Or I will, if it works with my mobile phone provider, my carrier, and there's reason to suspect it may not. My carrier here in the UK doesn't support visual voicemail. Thing with the iPhone where instead of having to listen to every message in order, you can see a list of who called, tap to listen to the third message and all that. My carrier doesn't play nice with that, so it's probably not going to do this. If your carrier plays nice and you have an iPhone with iOS 17, then when someone calls you and you don't answer, because you don't want to or you can't, you let them go to voicemail like ever, but then iPhones will then show you a transcript of the message they're leaving you. The iPhone with iOS 17 will show you a transcript live in real time as they are leaving the message. So you can look at it and see the gist, not them again. Or you can see, yeah, no, better take this call. Yeah. Just an aside, the new version of Mac OS, the operating system that runs everything on a Mac, it's called Mac OS Sonoma. You saw me having to think there. For some reason, that name just will not go in my head unless I first think of the word carcinoma. Lovely. macOS Sonoma, iOS 17, iPadOS 17, watchOS 10, that one's lagging behind there, isn't it? They will be coming to our Macs and iPhones and iPads and Apple Watches later this year, and they'll all be free if they can run on your Mac, your iPad, and all that stuff. Recent models, don't worry about it. Older models, I'll put a link in the bottom to a list of what's definitely said to be working with the new versions, which might change, but latest list will be there. I can also tell you this about the Mac. This is important to me because I think the Mac is what we write on the most, and I love writing on the Mac. Plus, this is always true every year, and as you can see, I have macOS Sonoma. I've been commissioned to write about it, so I've already got the developer beta on day one. Possibly a big foolish mistake, but we'll see. You should never install betas. It could work anything, but I have. What will happen when macOS Sonoma comes out and you've got it properly and officially around September, October time this year, you'll update to this new macOS and you'll sit there going, okay? Apart from this greenish wallpaper, during Apple's announcement, this greenish wallpaper, it reminded me of the Windows screen. It looks horrible. It's kind of okay when you see it in real life, but apart from the wallpaper, you won't see a difference at first. But then, as you write, as you get on with your work, you'll keep finding things that you really like. I mean, more than like. Look at the widgets in the corner there, and I could also add a clock and things. Also, this icon in my dock. If I click that icon, it opens a writing website that I use a lot, but it opens it like an app. So it's not one tab amongst dozens in Safari, it is its own thing, and you can nip back and forth to it. You've been able to get third-party apps that can do this to websites for years, but it seemed to me that they've always been a bit clunky, a bit flaky. For whatever reason, I've never stuck with any of them. I'll stick with this. I know I will. I already know I will. And I expect, even though it's kind of taking up some room, I'll stick with the widgets on the screen. I suspect it because, as I say, I'm writing about macOS Sonoma, so I have it on my Mac, but this Mac also has macOS Ventura, the current OS, and I kind of switch back and forth. Already, fewer than 24 hours since the beta was released, as I record this, I don't like moving back from Sonoma to Ventura. As I say, these new features are actually an immense amount more. They're coming to the iPhone, the iPad and the Mac and all that. But there were also 3 new Macs announced this week. I think they're going to get a bit lost in the flood over their headset. All the details are there if you want to look into them, but I think I can suggest that realistically, only one of the 3 is really useful for us as writers, and that's the new 15-inch MacBook Air. The MacBook Air, it's always been an excellent machine, and it's often actually also been the kind of the sweet spot in the MacBook range. Well, actually the sweet spot and also the cheapest one, which might help. I say cheap. The new version costs £1,400 or $1,300. So it's relative. But for a Mac, for a portable Mac, for what you get, for a large screen and yet still quite a low weight, it's a good price. For completeness, for thoroughness, let me say the other two new Macs are the Mac Studio, which I secretly want, and a Mac Pro, which is just ridiculously powerful, and at $7,000 quite possibly should be. Apple announced a lot this week at WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, more than it usually does, I think. And maybe this is just for me. Much of this is not going to sink in properly until we're actually writing with it, actually using it all every day. But just curiously, 2 nights ago now, I set up a set of smart scales, a weighing machine. I mean, all right, writer, sedentary lifestyle, far too keen on Pepsi Max, just back from overeating on a holiday. Look, I bought scales, okay? I don't think you will know this, actually, unless you've looked for it, but the iPhones come with a health app. And as it happens, one of the main things it does is connects to these scales. So I weigh myself in the morning, and before my tears even reach the ground, that weight measurement is already in my iPhone's health app, and it's tracking the, let's call it, progress. The surprise for me, it's only 2 days, give me a break. The surprise for me when I was setting this up, though, was that there wasn't a health app on the iPad. I'd never noticed. I suppose I'd never needed to notice, but now I did, and now there wasn't one, and it seemed weird. Except now there is in iPadOS 17. It's not why everyone should write on iPads, Macs, and iPhones, the health app on the iPad, but it's one of these things. It's yet another reason why all of these devices work so well together. And I think that's one last element about this year's WWDC news. I mean, at least for me. I don't think the Mac got a lot of attention, and it is what I write on, so that's kind of a shame. But overall, the Mac, the iPhone, the iPad, the Apple Watch, the Apple TV, they all got knitted together just a little bit more. And that is a good thing for all Apple users, I suppose, whether they're writers or not, whether they wear a headset or not. That's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, Write more, and I'll see you soon.